and welcome to this episode, which is sort of a bit of history, I guess, but it's not about this. This is a Line 6 digital wireless mic, and I bought a set of these a few years ago now, and they've just come out of service. They've been absolutely amazing, but I bought them because they were really quite nice and rather useful wireless mics that were digital. I didn't buy them for their main selling feature at the time. I mean, this is a Model 70. And if anybody wants to buy them, I would certainly recommend them. They've been incredibly tough. The reason they're out of service, this one is actually slightly broke. A comedian, Jim Davidson, decided to throw it at the ground, and it broke it. It's done pretty well, so I'm not too cross about it. They were nice, but they were nice also for a reason that I didn't use. I don't think I'm explaining this at all well. The whole selling feature of the Line 6 digital wireless system was that they could mimic other microphones. So you could set this to an SM58, you could set it to an Audix mic, you could set it to a Sennheiser, and a couple of other ones as well. And do you know what? If you actually put them up against these other microphones, they sounded exactly the same. So they were a modelling microphone. And I could have used that facility, but to be perfectly honest, I stuck it onto the SM58 setting and left it forever. Never bothered to change after my sort of initial experiments. And the reason is because they're not an SM58. The snag with the modelling system on a microphone is that while you can mimic the sound very well that comes out of these other brand microphones, you've only got one capsule. So this does not behave quite like a 58, certainly doesn't behave like the Sennheisers and even the Audixes, which are a little bit wider, and you've got a bit more tolerance maybe on the dangle of the microphone before the tone changes. It doesn't follow that. You've got one capsule. As it happened, I quite liked the way this capsule behaves. It didn't really matter whether people were close or distant. You could get a decent sound out of it. And best of all, it didn't suffer from any of the problems. In all the years that I've run these, never had one dropout. The disadvantage, of course, was that these microphones were extremely unfriendly to other users of the 2.4 gig spectrum. So anybody walking about with iPads, trying to make lights do things, trying to make sound do things, had a few issues. Mainly because these things sort of wiped out ordinary Wi-Fi. They did have a sort of more friendly setting, but I didn't use that. I just kept it on the sort of the use and abuse setting, and they worked absolutely perfectly. But they've been retired now. So why am I talking about a microphone when that's not the point in this video? Well, it's because Line 6 also had a guitar. Somebody was in the studio the other day and they saw this thing hanging up. And to be honest, it's a really nice guitar to play. But its main selling feature is that there are no pickups. None at all. The actual pickups are underneath the saddle here. And it actually works through a processor. Typical little thing on the back. So there's a 9-volt supply in there. It's 6 AA cells. Ordinary socket on the end. But it's also got a network socket on it as well. You could plug this into a stomp box type gizmo on the floor and use also the effects in there. And those effects could also change this guitar. So the idea is that if you wanted this to sound a bit like a Strat, then you dial up a setting on here. There's actually settings for Teles, Strats, Les Pauls. They've got silly names, of course. I mean, the Strat is named on this knob as Spank. The Les Paul is named as Lester. Teles are T models. There's a few specials. There's a few for the sort of 335 semi-acoustic things, and even 12 strings. So I figured I'd let you listen to this. To be perfectly honest, the guitar's really retired, because to program this needed an app, and the app wasn't updated after Windows 7, so you can see how old it is. I don't have a computer now in the studios, either this studio or the one at home, that can run Windows 7 anymore, so I can't program it. It was a useful little beast as well, because it came with a little floor box that let you send the guitar to an amp, you know, if you were using it on stage, but it also had a DI out on it as well, which is quite a handy feature. You could also use that to power the guitar. It used a 4-pole jack plug, so instead of the usual sort of 2 circuit we use for guitars, it used a 4 circuit, which allowed it to sort of stuff DC voltage up the spout and power the guitar, so no chance the battery's going flat. So I figured I'd let you have a go. So what we've actually got is a guitar that can change. So let's run through some of the typical sounds that this thing can produce. Again, you have to put up with my naff playing, but I guess for the purposes of this, that doesn't really matter, does it? So let's have a go. So at the moment, we're set. So we're set on the Teles sound. Okay, here we go. So we're set at the moment on the Teles sound on the select. You've still got the traditional selector. There's a five position switch, so I'll run through them. So you can hear the typical sort of slightly nasally Teles sound. Switched across to Spank. Does the usual sort of Stratty type stuff. Les Paul's a bit sort of fuller. The mellow end. It's a bit tricky just going through these, but hopefully you'll just hear the difference in the tones. So let's try the Les Paul one. Leicester on the dial. That's on the sort of neck end. Let's go across. So that's going through the Les Paul settings. Next one is labelled Special. Ah, Billy. The interesting one, which is a bit strange. One is sort of vaguely now that one's a bit strange. So that's the top E. Compare it with this one. There's like a double. The three highest notes have got sort of like extra overtones. Not like a 12 string, but just there's more than one note. That's fairly normal. There's definitely sort of extra stuff in there, isn't there? Yeah. Semi-acoustic. Jazz box. Well, it's got some stuff at the bottom. There's even a section full of acoustic sounds as well. Not totally convinced, but have a listen. That's odd, isn't it? And a section on resonatory style guitars. How about this? Oh, it's weird. Top strings seem unaffected, but those bottom ones have got a twang to them. Alright, for the last one. It's almost like a banjo. Not so much on the high ones. And then on the final one, where you can store some customized ones. That's interesting. Here's an A minor. Now these have clearly lost their programming because every note is playing the wrong one. I think they used to be a chord. So let's have it. If I go, so the top E, go to the next setting. Oh, the B's the same. Oh. So that A can turn into a B, and the E, E to a G. Do this one. Now clearly that's completely wrong, but it needs programming, and of course I can't. The final thing, the very first setting on here, another one, the custom ones, custom 1 in this case, you can actually use it as it's programmed here to play a bass. It's bizarre in the room because I can still hear the original sound coming from the strings direct, but of course it's recording the other. Strange. Next one. Oh yeah, I can remember doing this one. Right. So in this position, which is a normal tuning, we've got an E at the bottom. If I go to the other one, right, my ear here in the room is hearing E, the chord of E. You're hearing the chord of E flat. Very handy, I think, for a few songs. Not very many. I think back in my Beach Boy days, there were a few songs that were in E flat, and rather than detune a guitar, it was easier to play this one. Daft, really. Yeah, the other ones are tunings that don't make any sense anymore. I quite like the 12-string ones. So there it is, a Line 6 Variax. Used to be quite a handy guitar, But without the programming software, and basically there was a little box that you connected to your computer, that you then connected to the guitar to reprogram it. Because the guts of the Variax system are inside the guitar. They're not in an external box. So you have to reprogram this. And I mean, I have got that little box of tricks somewhere. God knows where. I haven't seen it for years. Annoying, really, because it's actually quite a nice guitar to play. Not that I'm a proper guitarist, but it is a nice guitar to play. Fixed bridge, adjustable saddles, all the usual stuff. But of course, no pickups that you can see. The pickups are underneath there. A bit like in the Roland guitar with the MIDI gizmos. There isn't a real pickup as such. It just produces typical sounds from a range of guitars. I don't know why it sort of never became that popular, and of course looking at the site it looks like it's a sort of, well, I guess Line 6 are now part of Yamaha, aren't they? So it's probably just one of those things where the technology was handy but nobody actually needs it anymore. So there you go. If you ever see one of these, don't buy it without the programming box, because you won't find one now. And if you haven't got the programming box, you're pretty well stuck with the stock sounds that are in. It does mean that the custom preset sections you can't use, or like this, you know, they've got things in that are completely wrong. But you do get quite a choice of different guitar sounds. It might sound a bit like a Strat or a Les Paul, but it doesn't actually play like them, because you've got the neck, and the neck really, it's a bit like a Strat neck. If you're used to a typical modern Strat, you'll be quite at home with one of these things. They're just a bit of an oddity, and it's a bit of a shame that it never really caught on, because it's actually quite a pleasant guitar. Anyway, I thought I'd just share Line 6 Variax with you. Bit of history for you modern guitarists who've never heard of them. I hope that made some sort of sense. Anyway, I will see you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.